Xenoblade 2 was better than the original. Not by much, but like, I still think it wins. I can kind of get liking the first combat system more, but I can't get liking it by much more. Like, my criticisms of both are like virtually the same, so I don't get how the pros could be that much different. X is better than Shulk, fight me. I don't see how people like Shulk more. He had like less of a character arc, but like, that's also why I think people like him more, because, you know, he was likable the entire time. Rex in chapters 1 and 2 and like arguably later chapters is like the most unbearable character ever. He's like every worst part of a shonen protagonist. But by the end of it, he's like a totally tolerable, mature dude that still struggles with his emotional issues. I don't know, he's just a really passionate and cool dude by the end. Whereas at the beginning, he was like an annoying diaper baby. And that's not even counting all of the actual personal character development he goes through, like being able to let things go. Pyra and Mithra are great characters. I have no idea what anyone is talking about when they say otherwise. I mean, I can think of two big things that they're probably referring to. Weirdly, I feel like people who just think that they're for fan service care more about the fan service than the people like me who actually like their characters. Mithra's whole backstory with literally creating Pyra so she can hide herself away is like awesome. That's already a cool concept in itself, but other than like the fan servicey scenes kind of like buffering in between her backstory, I weirdly think that it was handled really well. I don't know, I just think her trauma and everything is pretty realistic and bleeds into her personality really well. I get she was kind of like that beforehand, but if you've played Torna, you'll know what I mean when I say that they're still very different. I also love how Pyra, in essence, is like the opposite of her sins. Like, she made Pyra as a defense mechanism, and that's even cooler that Pyra's ultimate goal is that she wants to be able to kill herself so that way she doesn't create any more harm to anyone. People don't really talk about that much, but I really like how Pyra's like, in essence, Mithra's guilt, and she really manifests that really well, and a lot of people just think that she's, you know, just nice girl. The other characters are fun too. They're not like crazy deep or anything, but how can you not like Zeke von Gumbo? A lot of people really hated Tora. I thought he was fine. He's not as fine as my boy Ricky, but you know, he was fine. The ending makes me cry. It's some of the most beautiful cinematography I've ever seen in my life. And while I haven't done it on like a super professional scale or anything, as someone who's been both a voice director and a voice actor, I personally have always thought that the problem with voice acting in Xenoblade 2 is the direction and not the acting. Because you could just tell the actors had no idea what the scenes like were when they were doing them. As like if you hear them in other media, then they're like totally fine. It's like the director's responsibility to create context, so I just think they had no direction. Jin's whole backstory is amazing. I don't even think that's a hot take. I feel like even people who don't like Xenoblade 2 as a whole like still like Jin. Malos is hilarious. He's unironically still a good villain, fight me. Like, mostly he's hilarious. I don't know, I think the world building and lore is just as strong as the original. I don't know, overall it's just a banger, you know?